Gregory Meeks was on this morning on MSNBC, as you can see. He did an interview where he discussed the Iran money repayment situation. And I'm going to tell you, I believe that the repayment of the money that we owed Iran was legit. I'm going to tell you that I think that the hostage release was legit. What I'm also going to say is Iran timed that so that the hostages being released and the money being repaid in such a way that if the money was not received, they would have reneged on the deal to release the hostages. So Obama is right when he said they did not pay ransom for the hostages, but in my opinion, the two were tied together, and Iran was considering getting their money back, payment for the hostages. So it's one side seeing it one way, the other side seeing it another. Legally, it wasn't a ransom payment, but realistically, the two things were absolutely tied together. Here's the interview by Gregory Meeks. Now, I got some issues with him on his Clinton comments, which I will speak on at the end of the video.
You don't believe it? $400 million in cash being flown in an airplane to Iran.
We announced these payments in January. This wasn't some nefarious deal.
They think they probably paid the $400 million for the hostages, which is even worse.
We do not pay ransom. We didn't here, and we don't. We won't in the future.
And that was Donald Trump and President Obama on the questions that have arisen over the transfer of some $400 million in foreign currency to Iran. The Wall Street Journal reports the money was sent to Iran in January, the same time four American detainees were released by the Iranian government. Let's bring in New York Democrat Congressman Gregory Meeks. The congressman sits on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Always welcome here in our studio. Thank you for joining me, sir.
Good to be with you.
All right, so the Journal quoting these unnamed sources saying the detainees were released on the same day that the money was paid out. Coincidence? Plausible deal that some sort of a payment was made for the return, or is it truly just really completing that which was already arranged and it was set up in January and it just happened to time out?
This was not a secret deal. Everybody knew, the president announced beforehand that the deal was agreed upon at The Hague, money that was past due to the Iranians, different people negotiating the deal from who was dealing with the hostage situation, who was dealing with the Iran to prevent them from having a nuclear weapon situation. So you had, to me, it just shows the efficiency of the Obama administration. You had three different folks negotiating different deals.
Okay, but can you see how some would say Iran really had to call the shots here, and they said, we will release, but we want this money that is promised to us now. So timing-wise, coincidence or really maybe a power play by Iran?
See, and Iran didn't even have to say it. All they had to do was insist on the dates of the transactions. So, and they didn't even have to say exactly when they were going to release the hostages. All they had to do was say, yeah, we are going to release the hostages, and this is, okay, and then a separate group of guys will say, this is the date that we would like to have the money sent to us on. Well, if you got three different people working on this thing, and everybody's in agreement, once the date gets locked up, that the money's coming out, then the other negotiators can come back and say, okay, this is the date we're releasing the hostages. Okay, that's so one group of guys not really knowing what the other group of guys are doing. Okay, once the agreements came in, I believe it was the Department of Justice that came in, and they recognized what was going down and how it would look, and they said they didn't want those dates to correspond, but the State Department overruled them.
Absolutely not. Again, you look at what we were after in this particular scenario, saving the American people hundreds of millions of dollars, because this agreement saved the taxpayer a substantial amount of money. And so the president and the administration was focused on that deal, which was long, money that was due since the 1970s. And when you try to figure out the court deal, has nothing to do with negotiations that's taking place on other parts. Now, you don't, and so you worry about the results. 3 separate people negotiated. It wasn't like it was all in one negotiation. 3 separate and distinct negotiations going on shows that the administration can do more than one thing at a time.
But in terms of timing, I want to read part of the interview that one of the hostages, prior to being completely freed, I mean, it was in the process certainly, but here's what he said. I asked them why you don't let us go, because the plane was there, the pilot was there, everyone was ready that we leave the country. They said, we are waiting for another plane, and until that plane doesn't come, we never let you go. So what was on that other plane? Was it the $400 million payment?
No, I doubt it.
Hell yeah, it was the $400 million payment. And like I said, the deals were separate, but Iran would have reneged on the deal if that cash hadn't got there. So, again, it wasn't us saying we're paying a ransom, but it was them considering that cash as ransom. You got 2 different bodies looking at the deals 2 different ways. One person considering all of the deals separate, and the other person considering all of the deals tied together.
I don't know, so I'm not going to say whether it was or not, but I know that there were 3, because we were told at the time about the deal with reference to the money going to Iran, with reference to the agreement that was made in The Hague. So it's clear that Americans do not, and the president was very clear, do not pay ransom for hostages. This was a separate, distinct negotiation on all 3. And I think that what we should focus on is the end result is the American people save a substantial amount of money. We got our hostages home, and we're preventing Iran from having a nuclear weapon, which makes the whole world a safer place.
Okay. As you know, Hillary Clinton has sought to clear up the recent conflicting statements about her use of a private email server. And let's take a listen to part of what she said. Here's that.
What I told the FBI, which he said was truthful, is consistent with what I have said publicly. So I may have short-circuited it, and for that I, will try to clarify, because I think, Chris Wallace and I were probably talking past each other, because of course he could only talk to what I had told the FBI, and I appreciated that.
Do you think the Secretary's conflicting comments on this issue is really what has kept things alive? And why would she be issuing conflicting comments? Does she not understand the question? Is she having to be super careful about what she says? Or is there something she's hiding?
No, I think that what the Secretary has said is very clear. That the same thing that she said to the American people is the exact same thing that she said to the FBI.
That's bullshit. I hate it when these guys, I mean, he's been in the toilet for Clinton for a long time. Look, Clinton, number 1, which she admitted to, she shouldn't have used a separate server. 2, classified information was sent and received by Hillary Clinton. That's what Comey said. I'm going with him. And, and she really isn't disputing what he's saying. She's trying to cherry pick his comments to back herself up. Basically, what she should do to put this thing to bed is, 1, which she's already done, said I shouldn't have used my own separate server. 2, I was not aware of anything that came in or that I sent out that was classified. Apparently, something was, okay, and it was so minute as to escape my notice. 3, it will never happen again. Mr. Comey has made his statements. I am not going to challenge him on his statements. And as far as I'm concerned, I am not discussing this any further. That puts the whole thing to bed. Clinton just cannot do it. She cannot do it, and Bill's got the same problem. She needs to get past this because it just lends to the fact that people don't believe she's honest and trustworthy. If she just admits that a mistake was made and that stuff came in and went out. Now, I don't care about anything that's classified, retroactively. That's for whoever to, do whatever they're doing. But as far as stuff that actually was classified or had classified markings, whether it was right to have been classified or wrong, there were 3 items out of the, I believe it was 30,000 emails. There were basically 103 items. 3 of them were actually marked classified in some manner. The other 100 were retroactively labeled as classified. I don't care about the 100. That's after the fact. It's the 3. And whether they were properly marked classified or improperly marked classified, they were marked classified. So she needs to come to Jesus on those 3, say they were trivial, 3 out of, I missed 3 out of 30,000, my fault, I should have been more careful. It's like 0.00003% basic mistake. And I know I need to be perfect, and I will be going forward. That would end this thing. But you can't do it.
I think that there's nothing, when you have nothing else to hold on to, and that's what the Republicans have, is nothing, because if you want to talk policy and issues and how you take this country forward, and who really has a track record, when you compare Hillary Clinton to Donald Trump, there's no comparison. They have nothing else to talk about. So they hang on to that one little thing and try to blow it out of proportion. Something that clearly, when you look at Mr. McCarthy, who said that they were, the whole piece, all they were doing was trying to figure out a way to bring down Hillary Clinton. So they got one little thing and they won't let go.
What about the national security briefings, which we know are imminent? They're going to be delivered to both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. We're told they will be getting the same security briefings. The question to you, sir, is should they get the same ones?
Well, I think that
the answer to that question, and now he's going to be stupid, the answer to that question is based on prior history, not law, because it's not there's nothing in the law that says that they should get security briefings, but the history says that each candidate gets some, ultra light security briefings. Most of the information they get, they could probably go online and get. But the answer is yes, both people should get the briefing. Now, if Trump blows up and releases something that he gets from that briefing, then you cut him off. But Meeks is going to say something that's like absolutely stupid.
The question is, Donald Trump should say he doesn't want it, because Donald Trump has proven that he is not controllable, nor does he stay on a message, nor does he understand foreign policy. So he's one that will, if he gets the briefing, could very well blurt out what the classified information is. So I would tell Donald Trump, if Donald, you're listening, do not take the briefing because you cannot control yourself.
That is just plain stupid.
Well, we'll see if he was listening to you soon enough. New York Democrat Gregory Meeks, it's always good to see you. Thank you.
Good to be with you.